إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستغفره ونستعينه ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. الحمد لله الواحد الأحد العزيز الجبار الأول الآخر الظاهر الباطن، هو الحي القيوم، وهو الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا، وهو الذي خلق الإنسان وعلمه البيان، وهو الذي علم بالقلم وعلم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا من علمك وأعطنا من حكمتك وآتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله وصفيه وخليله، أدى الأمانة وبلغ الرسالة ونصح للأمة فكشف الله به الغمة، وتركنا على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها ولا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت وباركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one true God who created each and every one of us. He is the first, He is the last, He is the omniscient and omnipotent. I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except that one true God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is indeed His messenger and prophet, servant and slave. Allah's peace and blessings be upon him and his family, as Allah has blessed Ibrahim or Abraham and his family. My dear brothers and sisters, I want to remind myself and each and every one of you that the most important thing that you and I can accomplish in this transitional life is to become people who are sincerely God-fearing, in a way that's exclusive only to Him and Him only, in a way that's entirely different than the way we fear other powers, whether it is tyrants, governments, bullies in the schoolyard, or dark rooms, and all these other things that we associate fear with. The fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is exclusive for Him. And the more we fear Him, the more we love to see one day that Creator who created each and every one of us. Also, if we become people who are adhering to His message that was descended upon Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and that he lived that message and demonstrated every aspect of it for you and me. And if we become people who are always content with whatever Allah gives us, if it is a small, we accept it and we practice sabr or patience with it. And if it is in abundance, we become grateful, not arrogant. And also people who are mindful that our time can end as you're listening. If we fulfill all of these, we become people of taqwa, and may Allah make us those people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen exclusive names for Himself. His names are infinite, and all of them are good. But 99 that we know the exclusive names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of which is Al-Afu, the one who is prompt to forgive, the one who is source of forgiveness, the inspiration of the forgiveness. Today I just want to say a few words regarding that particular issue, which is really in short supply nowadays within our families, within our communities and nations. If we were forgiving people, we would refrain from a lot of wrong things that we do to one another. One day while the second Khalifa, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, was sitting with some of the companions, two young men came to him dragging someone who looked like their prisoner. They brought him in, and he was wondering what happened. He asked the boys, "Who is this man and what are you doing?" They said, "Oh Caliph, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, he had killed our father, and we brought him so you can apply al-qisas upon him to exact justice, eye for an eye, and nafs in nafs." So in other words, for him to be executed. Sayyidina Umar turned to the man, because you don't listen to when you're a just person from one side and make a decision. He turned to the man and asked him, "Have you done what they're claiming you have done to their father?" And the man said, "Yes." He said, "What happened?" And the man explained how their father, man was living in the rural area, whom people describe as A'rabi, not only just living in the rural area, but disconnected from the rest of the civilization. So he asked the man, and he said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, he entered my land with his camel and did some damage to my land, and I warned him, and I got angry, and I picked a stone and threw at him, and that killed him." So the man confirmed. And then Sayyidina Umar asked him, and he said, "Do you know what's going to happen to you?" If they're asking, because they have the right to ask for that, al-qisas, and they also have the right to ask for diya and to forgive. These are the three options, as we know, that Islam allows. So they picked the one that exacts justice. The man killed their father, they're saying, "Oh Caliph, kill him to exact justice." So Sayyidina Umar turns to the man and he says, "Well, this is what's going to happen." And the man said, "I accepted that. I only need one favor from you." He said, "I need to go back to my children because I was captured without them knowing, and I was brought to you without them knowing, and they're under my care. Other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have nobody else to look after them." He said, "I need to go back to them, and I need to inform them of what happened and what's going to happen to their father, and then come back for you to exact justice." So Sayyidina Umar is saying, "Okay, you want to leave," because the man is asking for up to 3 days, 2 to 3 days. He said, "It would take me to come back." Sayyidina Umar says, "Well, who's going to be responsible for you? I mean, if you were gone, like in this country, you have to put a pawn, right? Or bond or whatever, bond, for you to be reassured that you will come back, and if you don't, then the person who bonded you is going to lose whatever money they put in." Well, similarly, he said, "Who's going to make kafala for you? Who's going to be the responsible person if I let you go and you don't come back?" So the man looks into the crowd, the people who were sitting with the Caliph, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh, and he looks into them and he doesn't know anybody. So he runs his eyes again one more time and then spots one person. And he says, "That man right there." And he doesn't even know the man. The man turns out to be Abu Dharr al-Ghifari. And then Sayyidina Umar turns to him and he says, "Do you know this man?" And Abu Dharr says, "No, I don't." So he's saying, "You're going to be responsible for him. Would you take that responsibility, assume that responsibility, so I can let him go back to his family And he said, yes, I would. He said, do you understand what's going to happen? If this man does not come back, you will be the one who is responsible for that. So there has to be a price. So a brother says, yes, I do understand. I put my affairs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Said, I looked at this man and he looks like he's telling the truth. He never denied that he killed a man. He told the story as is. And he seems like he's telling the truth. And he accepted his fate. So he said, okay, on this kafala, I will let you go. Go back, but you have to come back before sunset on the third day. So the man accepted and he left. On the third day, it's a long story, but on the third day, right after Salat al-Asr, and it's approaching the deadline, there's nowhere, that man is nowhere to be seen. So Sayyidina Umar asks Abu Dhar, have you heard from the man? He says, no. He said, where is he? He said, only Allah knows. I don't know. I don't know where the man is. I'm just waiting, and I know what the consequence will be if he doesn't show up. Long story short, right before sunset, the man comes back. And all the Sahaba are jubilant and happy because he fulfilled the promise. And now one of the Sahaba, great Sahabi and the good friend of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, his life is spared. So he would not be paying for a price on a crime that he has not committed. So when he came back, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, he's looking into this as a scholar, as a student of this deen. He's looking into this situation not only from the emotional side, but the lessons that could be learned from that. On one hand, you have two boys who could have killed that man right there on the spot where they have found him, and their father was killed, but opted to bring him to justice, brought him all the way to the system that was in place, to ask the leader to fulfill that, because that's the Islamic way. It has to go through the process. You cannot just take it upon yourself and kill somebody. So they brought that man. That's one lesson. And here, Sayyidina Umar is awed by this man's honesty, who's not really adding any element of lies or manipulation or, it wasn't my responsibility, it was the weather, or, somebody made me do this. You know how people are. They make all sorts of excuses, right? But he's saying, yes, I have done that under these circumstances. And then on the other hand, you have a Sahabi who does not even know this man, whether he's good or bad. He doesn't know him. And the man just said that man would be responsible for me. And he accepted that. Because of the desperation that the man demonstrated. He doesn't know anyone in this. Because of sense of empathy. Because that feeling that the man was telling the truth. And because of always trusting that only what Allah decreed is going to happen. So he says, I submitted all my affairs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I accepted the responsibility. Under that condition, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu sheds tears, cries basically. And his beard is filled with tears. Because he is seeing this whole thing as a teachable moment, a tragedy. This man did not contemplate, did not want to kill their father, did not go out of his way planning that moment for evil reasons. It wasn't like that. So he turns to the young men. And before he even asks them, because he, in the beginning, asked them twice, and they rejected. This was the third time. When he was about to ask them to forgive this man, as that is the most pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the two boys were chatting. So they turned to Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu and they said, we decided to forgive. We decided to forgive. So in the case of Abu Dharr, less people would say the Muslims, the Ummah of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who had always the value of taking care of themselves and putting trust on themselves, have lost that principle. Unless people would say also al-wafa is lost in the process. The trust to fulfill when you are trusted and somebody trusts you, to show them and not put them on the spot and walk away from that scene. And then also the capacity to forgive. So they forgave each other. That was the moment. The lesson to be learned, to be told a millennium and a half later. Here we are discussing it. If it was exacted justice, what's there to tell? The story is over. One life is killed, another man paid the price. Case closed. But in this case, it's something for you and I to learn from. Something that we can teach each other and teach generations to come because of that special attribute that everyone has displayed. Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam is commanded, even the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, by whom? By Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. خُذِ الْعَفْوَ وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ وَعَرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِ. Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam here is commanded, be quick to accept forgiving others. Be quick to forgive others. And then advise others or command for them to behave well towards one another. And avoid the talks or the responses or reactions to the ignorant. And we're not talking about the uneducated, the morally ignorant people. The morally ignorant people. Don't let them draw you into their level of anger and hate and revenge and all of these things that make societies ill. Because at the end of the day, I want us to understand one thing. Forgiveness has a lot of benefits. Aside from the deen, we understand the spiritual and the religious benefit of forgiveness as part of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding even the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam to do so. And the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself he gave that name to himself also. Al-Afu, the one who forgives, who's quick to forgive. Aside from that though, it has a lot of different benefits. Yes, benefits for you and me and for the person who forgives most of all. It has health benefits. Research after research has been done on that. Because if you're not a person who's forgiven, you carry those grudges till eternity. You pass them down to your kids. And they're always angry at that one event that took place or happened to you or to your family members. So the anger continues. That hate continues. So from the health point of view, once you forgive, you unload yourself from all of that weight of negativity that you carry. Then it has also social aspect of it. Because when you are angry at somebody, what happens? even loved ones are divided in that process, right? Because one person is going to take this person's side, the other person is going to take that person's side. So you have crises within the family, crisis within the community, you have crisis within the nation, and so forth and so on. And then you have the political benefit. All of these countries that have issues. I'm not talking about some of the things that are existential issues. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about the issues that create mistrust between people. Issues that can be easily dealt with by forgiving one another. Then when that happens, it also has economic benefits, and so forth and so on. And the list goes on and on and on and on. All of that is benefit. But Shaitan doesn't want us to forgive one another. So I'll share with you some personal thing. Personal in the sense because I know the brother. May Allah give him Jannah in that action that I'm about to tell you. This morning, my plan was not to come and make this khutbah about forgiveness. Something magical happened. Last night I slept thinking of different subject. But this morning I changed it because I read an article. Subhanallah, an article inspires a khutbah. The article talks about a friend who, it was published in Kenya, and the person happens to be from Somalia. And he was talking about an incident that happened to him. I've known about it, but this is the first time he went to public, at least in the international circles. In 1992, in 2014, while he was in Mogadishu, a man walks to him, and he says, I was looking for you, you don't know me. He introduced himself, and he says, I want you to forgive me. And then this man asked him, he said, on what? I don't even know you, I'm just seeing you for the first time. He said, I want you to forgive me because in 1992, forgive me, please. So in 1992, he said, I was one of 3 people or so many people that broke into your house. No need the details. In that process, this man's 18-month-old daughter was killed. Brutally killed. So he said, and he talks about this in the article, you can look it up, inshallah. He said, my initial reaction was to really kill him. My initial reaction, because he was not ready for it. He's in a restaurant. A man walks to him and he says, in 1992, I was one of the people who killed your daughter. Imagine that. So we're not talking about it in the theory sense, in the practical sense in this case. And we're not talking about years past where people were much better than us in terms of their piety, in terms of their understanding of the deen, and so forth and so on. We're talking about now, present. So he said, what would I do? I just looked at the man. And it took all that I had to suppress my anger. And he said, I forgive you. Here is a man who was a young man when he did that. Now he has the moral courage to even face the people and tell them, look, I am the one who did it. Please forgive me because I don't want to face the Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on that blood in my hand, on my hands. So he forgave him. Subhanallah. And then he says in a line in that article, he says, I felt like weight was lifted off my shoulders. The burden. I felt relieved. This is the father who lost his 18-month-old, not to natural death, but some marauding gangs who broke into his house, who brutally killed his child. That's what it would take, brothers and sisters, to forgive one another. Allah make us those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described as القادمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Let's turn our hearts to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا. اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك قريب سميع مجيب الدعوات يا رب العالمين. وأقم الصلاة.